Boys, it is 20 to 11. Oh, we're still drinking the goddamn fucking coffee. I have too much work to do tonight. I can't be not drinking my coffee. We're talking about Jon Jones. I don't know how to feel about him. For the last while, anytime I thought about him, I disregarded him. He's not the GOAT. I was lambasting him internally in my monologue, saying he's a piece of shit, saying he's all these bad things. Now, he has done bad things, don't get me wrong. However, I was kind of reevaluating my opinion of him compared to other people. So, for example, Justin Bieber and I were about the same age. So when we were both 19, he was drag racing, he was getting in fights with paparazzis, he's doing all these things. And all my friends hated him and said he's a piece of shit and yada yada yada. And I held back, and my opinion was that if anybody at that age, including me, got that amount of money, had all the girls wanting us, were famous, etc., we would be doing the same thing, if not a lot worse. So I gave him a pass. Conor McGregor, I gave him a pass on everything except the sexual assaults. When they started coming out, which we don't know is true, but there was some photographic evidence that looked quite damning. So I didn't give him a pass for that. Now, Jon Jones, my historical opinion was that he was a piece of shit. Drug taking, prostitutes, women, DUIs, crashing into that pregnant lady, all that. But I never gave him a pass, and I never considered to give him a pass. For some reason, immediately I just labelled him as a piece of shit and gone on with it. But I'm re-evaluating it now, and I did recently go back and watch all his old fights. This motherfucker was in the UFC when he was, 21? So if you sit back and you think about it, imagine being 21 and being told that you're effectively an athletic god. How would you react? All the girls want you, you have money, but you've also all the respect of the men who you respect, telling you that you could be the greatest ever. Maybe he hasn't turned out that bad. Now, he is 34. So the way he's carrying on really isn't that good. The DUIs is shooting in the air. He has to have some issues internally. And he's pushing up my limits. I'm not exactly sure at what point does my pass, which I have now given him, what point does that end? In terms of the picograms and the drugs, a lot of people are on drugs. A lot of people are on steroids. I don't really know what to say about that. In terms of the cocaine that he used to do and the partying, I don't care. People party, people take drugs. Let him do whatever he wants to do. He still beat people. And he was a phenomenal fighter. If you go back, and because I never did this before, but if you go back and you watch his old fights, he was fantastic. His trips, which he never used anymore, he used them so effectively back then. And elbows were very dynamic. We hear about that a lot, about his elbows and yada yada yada. But yeah, they were quite significant in those fights. So what is he going to do now? What are we going to do with him next? I think he considers himself the greatest of all time. I absolutely do not. For me, I actually can't formulate an opinion on this yet. For me, if I had a gun, if Jon Jones walked in here, heard me talking shit, and put a gun to my head and said, who is it? I would have to say GSP. But the other person in that, Anderson Silva, I haven't went back and watched all his fights yet. So I need to do that to be able to formulate an opinion on the three of them. Because that's really who's in the conversation. GSP, Anderson, and Jon Jones. It's a tough one. Jon Jones is, let's be honest, he's undefeated. I went back and I watched, while I was watching all the other ones, the one with Matt Hamill, and it was bullshit. He was destroying him, and it was bullshit. So he's basically undefeated. GSP obviously has those, 2 losses, but he did avenge both of them. But the thing is, GSP was never caught for steroids, and the way he's speaking, and the way of what we know about him, and the character he portrays or is, I don't think he did. Whereas Anderson Silva did get caught for steroids, and so did Jon Jones. So does that rule the two of them out of the greatest of all time contention then, or of the conversation? Because if GSP had done steroids, maybe those 2 losses may never have happened. Maybe he would have just dominated people a lot more and therefore would be completely above Jon Jones and Anderson Silva in the conversation. But anyway, another reason why I think Jon Jones cannot be considered the greatest of all time is because he's only said 1 weight class. That is so 10 years ago. You can't do that anymore. Henry Cejudo. So Henry Cejudo's done it, Connor's done it, Daniel Cormier has done it, and GSP to an extent has done it. If you want to be considered in the conversation for greatest of all time, you have to go up a weight class, which he is considering. On Twitter at the minute, he's tweeting everybody. If you want to talk to Jon Jones, go on his Twitter now, tweet something to him. He's probably going to reply to you. He's talking a lot on Twitter, and he's saying he's going to do it. And all this talk with Francis Ngannou as well. Who knows? I haven't looked at that fight. I haven't analysed them and matched them up. I really don't know. I don't want to say it here because it sounds stupid. But I don't know, man. He needs to go up because... Well, I shouldn't even been speaking about this. He lost the last fight. He lost the last fight against Dominic Reyes. I was watching it live. When they announced the name, I was completely shocked. I couldn't believe it. And we had all this talk about, to beat a champ, you have to beat the champ, all that bullshit. I disagree with that. I think if he beat him, which he did, then Dominic Reyes should be the champ right now. So I definitely don't think he's the greatest of all time. If he went up, became the heavyweight champ, then he would have a serious horse in the race. But you still have to take into account that he did get done for steroids. So maybe that's just outright, maybe put an asterisk next to his name like they do in baseball or something. But whatever's going to happen is going to be super interesting anyway. Even though I'm not excited, look, the thing is, with Jon Jones, with his recent fights, I'm not excited for them. The Dominic Reyes fight, I don't know. With his recent fights at light heavyweight, he doesn't excite me anymore. The fights don't excite me because I presume he's going to win all the time. Now, Dominic did a really good job. But the only thing that could excite me is, one, the Dominic Reyes rematch or moving up to heavyweight. That's the only thing that he can do to excite me. And then in terms of the trash talk, I think I'm going to give him a pass on that. Maybe. I still don't know how I feel about it fully. But guys, thank you for watching the video. Let me know your opinions in the comments. I'll read them, I'll reply to them. And I hope you have a very nice day.